Hello everyone, my name is Uthris and welcome back to another episode of Workers and Resources Soviet Republic. Last episode we made a oil refinery and oil wells kind of working center for our citizens, yet we don't have any citizens yet in the area to get this thing functional. So let's go ahead and fix that today. We're going to start off with a little bit of an avenue coming off the interstate into some sort of city center. So we're going to be using a medium fountain here, something to make it look a little bit nice. We are, of course, using modded assets that you can find in the description of this video down below if you are curious for what mod pack we are using, something that I kind of put together myself. It will get changed and expanded on as the series grows. The idea with the city center, initially here, wanted a fountain, because why not? Gotta have a cool fountain in a city center, and then also provide plenty of road crossings around here. Now, the delete tool can kind of get a little Wild West on you and become a little bit of a pain to work with, but nothing that a good kind of redo can fix. We're just going to be using some asphalt plaza space underneath there. I like the combination of the gravel walk spaces and the asphalt just to kind of have a contrast of colors. We're going to be using some cool kind of pillar modded in lights for this plaza space. We'll be putting down some trash bins and benches. And this is something that I end up kind of not doing as much of, which is kind of a shame, and we need to get back to is kind of these smaller detailing spaces. Once the game kind of gets going, we're going to get bogged down in a lot of the big picture details. We're going to have a big, nice sickle and hammer there at the entrance of town. I'm going to kind of square that up with a little bit of a walk connection there. And the town hall is going to be right across as you come into this main avenue. Everything's going to have all of our services hopefully centered around this for the most part, as much as possible. Don't forget your sidewalks. Sidewalks are super important to make sure you have good flow of people. I do not want them all to be walking along the street. That would be a little dangerous for our buses. Not for them. They'll be perfectly safe and fine, but I'm more worried for the buses and the networks that we're going to be having there. So we're going to start here with a little bit of a shopping center and a small grocery store and maybe a cinema in this initial area. So we will be having to import food and some of their personal needs in the interim. We aren't going to be producing any of that stuff, so that's fine. The town hall is placed again, and we're going to get a police station and a fire station also. I don't want everything to have. I don't want to have a bunch of streets offshooting off from this central loop. I want this to be kind of lighter traffic through here, and then the other vehicles will be kind of coming in through back entrances and side alley streets to access some of the back end areas. I just like that from a design perspective. I think it makes a little bit more sense. Going to be doing some of these modded buildings and some of the native default buildings. The default buildings are easy to spot. They have a road requirement when you are placing them, which can be a little annoying to deal with. You don't have to use the road connection, but sometimes it does limit how you can place those structures. So the modded buildings are a little bit more freeform, a little bit more leeway with those. We're going to add a transformer along the highway here so that we can just run some high voltage up and continue that on to the oil field, but the main town power will end up coming off the interstate there, which makes a decent amount of sense, I would say. Now, from a road layout, I'm not going to do a perfect grid. I tend to like planning a little bit more organically. So we're going to start with something that looks very uniform and almost grid-like, sure. But that doesn't mean it's going to stay like that. So I'm going to start trying to throw in angles and curves and offshoots and branches to kind of mix things up. Also, got to make sure our buildings are connected via footpath. We are currently funding everything out of pocket. And one of the coolest features about this game that we'll probably get into at some point is the option to actually build it yourself. So all these buildings that I'm placing down, you can see they have a rubles cost. And if we build a construction kind of facility and kind of construction job point, we'll be able to build these items ourselves and have to import foreign labor. So long term, that is a huge goal to get to, because it does save a lot of money if you are able to do that yourself, though it may also be a little bit till you get there, right? So I'm going to be trying to build this thing as big as possible. We still have about 6.2 million to work with, which in hindsight, boy, from all the deletions and rebuilds of this stuff that I've done, I probably easily have thrown away a million of that at this point in the series. So, oh well, that's just the way it goes sometimes. Now the road crosswalks, sometimes they don't always work perfectly. So if I just end it there and kind of turn up into the structure, it kind of makes it look like it can function and make some sense. I do want to have some back alleyways and some back exits to these buildings so that people can exit and walk from either side. Something to note about your pedestrians is that they really only will walk up to about 300 or so meters away from their location to go get stuff. Whether that's walking to the bus station, whether that's walking to the store, whether that's getting unloaded at a bus stop or work's location and then walking to work. So having the distances in mind is super, super important. We're gonna throw an electrical hub in the middle here just to power everything initially. And so that's why, I'm trying to build somewhat compact, as close together as possible with enough green space to just kind of break it up a little bit. Obviously, I really wish there was a little bit more options that could clip things a little bit more tight and intertwine them, make some plaza spaces, which I will need to go back into and throw down some plaza spaces, some sport kind of location to keep these guys happy. They're going to have a lot of needs. There's a little bus station on this side. At the moment, we only have 2 bus stations, one on kind of east and western side of the town. That way, people have kind of as short as walk as possible to those bus stops to then get picked up to go to work. So very important to me to have that. I don't want to have many buildings on the main avenue coming off the interstate, so we're just kind of capping it about to there. So this is about as close to the interstate as the city is going to get to. Everything else will kind of branch out. Now, luckily, because this is a modded map, it might be a little bit easier to build on than anything else, maybe just randomly generated. But the creator of this map gave us a nice flat space, so we do have a decent amount of room here to work with, which is always good. You can see I'm trying to get a nice smooth curve to the roads, get a good decent spacing from the sidewalks, and all that is can waste some money. This is a really cool modded asset actually. It's a huge complex of apartments that we will be putting down. I think it fits like almost 700 people in there, and we'll get back to it. And it's going to be a main central building to our town, and it's central because hopefully that means all those people who live there, not a far walk to get to either bus station or to work or to their cinema or whatever. Each of those buildings, by the way, the shopping centers, cinemas, even your hospitals, they have max capacities that you need to watch out for. So if you're overfilling a single node, it is going to potentially create a problem for you. And also, of course, you can see you can even overload these power stations too. So that's something to be mindful of. When you click on them, it'll say, hey, what's the max load this thing is going to have if it's the only thing powering it? And then in addition to, hey, if it's actually being used and there's other things nearby, what's the true load? So the second number is a little bit more important because it's going to tell you kind of, hey, we need more power stations nearby to share this burden with each other. And so that's kind of something you're going to have to balance out a little bit more real time as you go. So you can see, it's still relatively boxy, but I like the angles that we have going off here. Some more interesting spots, which is great. Laying down some tennis courts now to kind of keep some people happy with sport. Going to fit those in where possible, as much as possible. A little bit of a road crossing, so people get to the bus station a little bit easier and a little bit quicker, and vice versa. So the town center is pretty much that, right? So we're going to have some apartments elsewhere. We're going to have schools. We need to have actual bus depots so that we can buy vehicles, set up bus routes to take them to work. We will also need a fueling spot. So I don't think we piped that one up. We might pipe that one up. It's close enough to the oil refinery. We might do that there, but other bus stations we're not gonna pipe up. We're just gonna buy vehicles and things and the resources outright. It's cool. These service buildings, so like police, medical buildings, police facilities, you need to buy vehicles for so that they can actually function and serve well. And this is another building that we're going to place down, a heating plant to provide actual heat to the buildings, because that's another requirement for these structures to have a good balance. Heating is super important, especially when you get into the winter months. In fact, in hindsight, that small heating plant is not enough. I'm going to get a billion comments saying that's not enough heating. All I can say is I now know that's not enough heating. Heating is one of the most important things that you can give to your citizens, especially if you have like seasons and stuff turned on like we do. It really impacts their health. So super, super important to have that kind of squared away. There's kind of one of our first schools. There's multiple education levels of, okay, phone, wow. Yes, I get it. You didn't understand that. Wow. Phone interrupting my recording. How dare you? That's not very nice. Okay. So, where was I? We're not doing many one-way roads. You can see the avenue. It actually kind of loops around in a one-way sort of fashion. Oh, there's that modded building again. So we're kind of laying out the large real estate and land usage for this here, and I think that just fits really nicely. Not only does it look good from above, but as you are coming down the avenue and you kind of see the town hall and you see these big buildings in the background, kind of at the backdrop, it's really, really cool. Cafe will help their happiness. Things to watch out for happiness is kind of their sport. How much they can access sport buildings, which can be governed by the weather. Didn't know that at the time. How easily they can access food, electronics, and other needs such as culture, cinema, or museums. So all of that plays into a factor. There is an alcohol stat. They do like alcohol. Just be careful with it because it does impact their health, and they can become a little bit more alcohol dependent and addicted to it. So, have the occasional pub, but I would say don't heavily rely on him too much for the happiness. I'd rather them complain about the lack of alcohol and just have some over them just having it everywhere and impacting the health of the citizens. So for RP reasons, it could be cool to maybe make a town that's just full of drunkards. Maybe the steel mill town. We can do that. So all this is kind of hooked up. There's buttons to kind of see this in overlays. Overlays are super important because see me checking walkability at that point, making sure the cinema everyone can kind of get to at the moment. We'll have some side roads. Side roads, I'm going to use some more of a gravel texture for to kind of break up the color palette of the settlement. For the most part, we have kind of 2 entryways into the town. The side entryway, we're going to limit bus traffic. For the most part, we will let people, I think, leave out that way, but not come in initially. And that's just so that people can kind of get through the town in a specific direction. In the interim, that might change as we progress through. Here, just adding more sidewalks, making sure foot traffic can reach where we want them. And you can see we're already down to 5.6 million rubles left. It's kind of interesting when you first place down a building, it doesn't consume the money until that money starts being built. So while it's in pause, you essentially have infinite money. Who would have thought? Just pause time. That's what we should do. Get the Senate to pass that into the law, please. With that, we'll go ahead and go into real time. We'll talk about the town a little bit more and see you there. All right, everyone, I hope you enjoyed today's speed build. We made it a little bit shorter just so that we can have maybe a little bit longer of a real-time section. And today, the real-time section is going to be actually setting up the first kind of initial bus routes to get these people to their job. You can see up here we have 2018 workers. We have 53% unemployment, which is not great. But we will start getting some buses, taking people to the power plant, the heating plant that we kind of established, and also the water treatment and oil factory. And we might need to increase the population as we go, not sure, but we'll have to see here. So let's go to the depot, which is actually over here, though I'm thinking I'm going to need a gas station along here, as it will hopefully be able to service the town itself, and people going back and forth the other way a little bit. So let's go ahead. We'll hit play for a second. So we're going to buy some new vehicles. We're going to buy some buses. Now, places that have a lot of workers, things like our oil refinery, we want probably as many passengers at once to be dropped off, right? So they work in shifts, and the way that you know this is if you actually kind of look at the staff here, you can see that, for example, their shift at the cinema is three hours. Okay, so every job has a little bit of a different shift. These guys are kind of 1 hour, 7 hour, so you can kind of see when a fresh group of people kind of show up, how long they're going to be working there, and then they will leave. So you'll see the staff kind of naturally decrease and then increase, decrease, increase as people kind of come and go from the job. So let's get some buses. So I probably want 5 buses going to the oil refinery. I'm going to start with 4 though. The reason for that is I want 2 buses at this bus stop, 2 buses at this bus stop, all going to the oil refinery location. So let's go ahead and get 1, 2, 3, 4. And we'll set up the first route. So new stop, I'll pick up there and take there. And then we're going to duplicate this over to that route. Okay. And we can start those. Just want to make sure that leaves so I don't accidentally duplicate it to the wrong vehicle. You can see the buses, spawn at the depot, they park there, and then they'll pull out. So I guess, you only have so many slots while you deal with this. All right, next, over here to here, copy it, that vehicle. And we'll launch them both. Alright, so we have our first set of buses going this way. Which is pretty cool, pretty handy to do. You'll notice that we have workers waiting, which is great, at both stations. Here, now I actually don't know the limit of these. If the limit is already kind of full here, we might need to increase the number of bus stops that we have. Let's actually take a look at this. So this one, 230 passengers is the limit. And then the other one that we're using, I think, is just a standard single. That's 150. So, you know, we're not at the limit. Right now they're only flagged to use or have workers waiting. So that'll hopefully take care of the oil refinery for a little bit. And what that's going to do is I currently have a train that's just selling oil. I'm no longer going to load oil on this train. I'll unload it just to get rid of what's on there. And that's because I'm going to start selling the fuel in bitumen. If I look at the market, let's just take a look at prices. So selling 192 and fuel 117. Let's go look at oil. It's 37. So you can see the processed material is just kind of an exponential increase. So hopefully we can get those to sell instead and make a better profit on our investment there. All right, new bus. Okay, we're going to send. We need to send people to the water thing, so we're going to send two buses. To the waterworks. One from each area. To start with, and of course we'll adjust routes as needed for our citizens. Alright, so those two are going. The power plant, we'll send two buses as well. $65, $60, $75. I want kind of a faster bus for that because it's closer, but you know, the speed, we might need to replenish them a little quicker. So this is going to be pretty much the same thing. Alright, awesome. Start. Great. Let's speed up time a little bit, get these buses kind of out the door. Okay, so you can see a lot of workers showing up to the bus stations now. Great. So we'll start really picking up people. What's this train doing? Okay, looks like it is off to go sell. We'll make like 15,000 rubies out of that. Okay. Next bus. So we are populating here, we're populating there. I need to populate here. This is going to be probably two buses as well. This one I'm going to do a little bit different. We're going to make it a little bit more of an interesting route. Thinking about dropping people off somewhere a little bit more central in town. Because you can click on some of these buildings and drop people off that way. So we'll unload at the cinema. We'll only load here. And I don't care about students. I don't care about passengers. I don't want tourists. I really just want workers. Okay. We'll duplicate that over. Now the reason I'm doing this is so that I have a little bit of a longer route. And there's a trick. If I look at this route here, let's see which one is it. Okay, yes, it's this one. We're gonna compute the line length and space them out. If you have a decent line, you can space out your buses, kind of in an automatic way. So happiness is kind of low right now. We're at 64% happiness and 64% health about. Biggest thing that's affecting our happiness, I think, is kind of water in things, because we currently aren't pumping anything. We don't have any workers going on. What's up here? Might have a weird road issue. Yes. Let's just make sure this is a full two-way road. So in the first episode, we made this a dual entry, and that is not feasible anymore. We really shouldn't have that for that area. Now these are going to become pretty busy, but hopefully we're going to loop decently well. Luckily, both of these stations are kind of one way through. Okay, let's see if we can't do some line spacing on all of these. The only ones that you can do this on are ones where you have two vehicles on that route. Alright, great. We have workers showing up to our heating plant. Building is without drinking water, but we have our first kind of bus coming up here, I believe, to drop people off. Where are they going? Where are these guys going the back way to get in here because I had the dual road set up incorrectly? I think so. So they're taking the back way. You know, they're just showing the workers the benefit of functioning here. Source is not sending resource, not sending resource. I don't know if my water is a little broken or not. So I should be pumping into these towers and then out, but I might need a pump on this side of the tower, to be honest. to send it to here. Let's check heating. How are we doing on heating? Total capacity is 222%. All right, we need some more heating structures to share the heating weight, and we need to solve our water issue for sure. All right, good. We have workers out here, which actually, because I'm actually supplying this, I can go to sell mode. And I can start selling the power that I'm generating. Now that we're finally generating power here using oil. Now, since we've been running our oil train, we have a fair amount of oil saved up already. So we are producing max power, which is, I believe, 1050 megawatt per hour, which is pretty crazy. And we are selling all 18 megawatts per hour here, which is hopefully going to help our money situation. So long as we have power, I think we'll be okay. We are producing oil. And I might need to look at this, because right now, you can't mix liquids. So this is kind of all going to my truck station, which is kind of bad. I needed to come over here. But this only has 2 inputs. So I need to decide on what to actually ship out. And I'm not storing any fuel, because fuel is coming through this tank, which is currently being used for something else. So at the time, I guess I didn't know that you couldn't pump liquid to liquid. So that's something that we'll have to address also. But regardless, I think this episode has gone on kind of long enough. In between episodes, I'll keep working on logistical things and try and just kind of steady this thing together, make it a little bit more functional. Next episode, we'll start with a new section of town. I kind of want to start agriculture around here. We got plenty of flat space for it. Farmland around this area would look very pretty also. And yeah, so if you guys are enjoying the game, feel free to subscribe, hit that like button, leave a comment down below, become a member today, and with that, have a good one. We'll see you guys in the next episode, comrades.